never been so happy.
This year has already been a wild ride for horror fans, and the fun isn't stopping anytime soon. We've still got plenty of terrifying releases coming before the year ends, and the next couple of years look even crazier. 2026 and 2027 are stacking up with some of the scariest films on the horizon, covering just about every flavor of fear you can think of. We're talking sports horror, sci-fi horror, fantasy-driven nightmares, and of course, some classic Halloween season scares. And that's just scratching the surface. There's so much more lurking in the shadows. So, without dragging it out any longer, let's dive right into what's coming next. The Conjuring Last Rites, September 5th, 2025. The end is finally here, and we're heading into the last chapter of the Conjuring series. For more than 10 years, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga have been taking on ghosts and demons as Ed and Lorraine Warren, but now they're ready to put away the holy water and close the case file with the fourth and final movie, The Conjuring Last Rites. James Wan's Conjuring universe has been a massive hit, pulling in about $2.2 billion across 8 films. It's become the biggest horror franchise ever, mixing scares with solid storytelling while also turning the real-life Warrens into fan favorites despite their controversial history. This last movie is once again being directed by Michael Chavez, who previously worked on The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, The Nun 2, and The Curse of La Llorona. In Last Rites, Ed and Lorraine are set to face one final chilling case before their story comes to a close. Him, September 19th, 2025. Sports and horror don't usually go hand in hand on the big screen, but that's about to change with a new film from director Justin Tipping and Jordan Peele's Monkey Paw Productions, the team behind hits like Get Out, Us, Nope, and the 2021 Candyman reboot. The movie, titled Him, stars Tyreek Withers as a rising football talent who heads to a remote training compound run by a legendary team's veteran quarterback played by Marlon Wayans. Joining them are Julia Fox and Tim Heidecker, rounding out a cast that mixes fresh faces with familiar ones. Keeper, October 3rd, 2025. Great news for Osgood Perkins fans. After dropping one of 2024's biggest horror hits with Longlegs and following it up quickly with the bloody fun of The Monkey back in February, Perkins isn't slowing down. He's got another creepy story lined up to hit theaters before the year ends. His next film, Keeper, arrives this October and brings back Tatiana Maslany and Tess Degenstein, who both starred in The Monkey. They'll be joined by Rossif Sutherland. The story follows Malcolm and Liz, a couple heading off for a romantic anniversary getaway. But when Malcolm suddenly has to leave for the city, Liz is left alone in their remote cabin, only to find herself facing a menacing presence that makes the trip anything but peaceful. VHS Halloween, October 3rd, 2025. The VHS series has really made October its home over the past few years, turning each new release into a go-to watch for horror fans during spooky season. This year, the franchise is going all in with a Halloween twist. The 8th film, fittingly titled VHS Halloween, will drop on Shudder on October 3rd and pack its segments with classic seasonal scares. As always, the project brings together a stacked lineup of filmmakers. This time we've got Brian M. Ferguson, Casper Kelly, Micheline Pitt Norman, R.H. Norman, Alex Ross Perry, Anna Zlokovic, and Paco Plaza. With that mix of talent and a Halloween theme, this entry is shaping up to be one of the most festive and frightening yet. The Black Phone 2, October 17th, 2025. Horror sequels don't always get fans buzzing, but Scott Derrickson's return with The Black Phone 2 definitely has people talking. The first film was a chilling mix of supernatural terror and child abduction drama back in 2021, and now it's getting a follow-up that looks just as promising. Not much has been revealed about the sequel yet, but we do know some familiar faces are back. Ethan Hawke, Jeremy Davies, Mason Thames, and Madeline McGraw are all returning to reprise their roles. The original was based on a short story by Joe Hill, yes, Stephen King's son, and while Hill isn't writing this one, Derrickson has once again teamed up with his longtime collaborator C. Robert Cargill, who co-wrote both the Black Phone and the Sinister films. Frankenstein, November 7th, 2025. Guillermo del Toro's long-awaited take on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein finally has a release window, and it's landing this November on Netflix. Known for his darkly beautiful genre films like Pan's Labyrinth, Crimson Peak, and The Shape of Water, Del Toro is bringing his signature style to the classic sci-fi horror tale. This version centers on Christoph Waltz as Dr. Pretorius, who sets out to track down the legendary monster played by Jacob Elordi. Thought to have perished in a fire years ago, the creature is still alive, and Pretorius wants to push forward the dangerous experiments started by Dr. Victor Frankenstein, played by Oscar Isaac. The film boasts an incredible supporting cast too, including Mia Goth, Ralph Ineson, and Charles Dance. Five Nights at Freddy's 2, December 5th, 2025. Five Nights at Freddy's smashed records in 2023 as Blumhouse's biggest hit ever, and now the team is back for a sequel dropping at the end of 2025. The first movie centered on Josh Hutcherson's Mike, a down-on-his-luck security guard who took a night shift at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, only to discover the animatronics weren't just creepy, they were deadly. For Five Nights at Freddy's 2, director Emma Tammy is returning along with co-writers Scott Cawthon and Seth Cuddleback. The core cast, Hutcherson, Matthew Lillard, Elizabeth Lail, and Piper Rubio, are all reprising their roles, making it feel like a proper continuation of the story. The sequel's tagline, "Anyone can survive 5 nights," this time there will be no second chances, hints at higher stakes and a darker, more intense ride. Return to Silent Hill, January 23, 2026. Return to Silent Hill is set to bring the iconic Konami survival horror game Silent Hill 2 to the big screen in 2026. Directed and co-written by Christoph Gans, who helmed the original 2006 Silent Hill movie, this new installment stars Jeremy Irvine as James Sunderland and Hannah Emily Anderson as Mary. Evie Templeton, who also performed the role of Laura in the Silent Hill 2 game remake, will reprise her character on screen. The story follows James, a man tormented after losing his soulmate, who receives a mysterious letter drawing him back to the fog-covered town of Silent Hill. Once there, he discovers the place twisted by a malevolent force and haunted by nightmarish creatures, including reimagined versions of familiar monsters like Pyramid Head. As James spirals between grief, delusion, and horror, the film leans heavily into Silent Hill's psychological roots. 28 years later, The Bone Temple, January 16, 2026. 28 years later, Bone Temple is the next step in Danny Boyle's revived zombie saga, this time directed by Nia DaCosta. The film picks up right after the divisive but critically praised 28 Years Later, which scored an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes but left audiences split. While Boyle's take leaned more slow burn and reflective, Bone Temple looks like it's shifting gears into faster, bloodier territory, especially after that finale where Jack O'Connell's Sir Jimmy Crystal turned into a full-blown cult leader straight out of A Clockwork Orange. The sequel reunites O'Connell with Emma Laird's Jemima and Aaron Taylor Johnson as Jamie, who's now desperately searching for his missing son, Spike. Ralph Fiennes is also back as the fan favorite Dr. Ian Kelson, while Chi Lewis Perry's terrifying alpha, Samson, returns with a shocking new twist. He's expecting offspring, hinting at a freaky viral evolution. DaCosta has teased a more character-driven approach, contrasting Kelson's fragile humanity with the violent chaos of Jimmy's cult. And yes, fans will get some form of Cillian Murphy's original character making an appearance. Send Help, January 30th, 2026. Send Help is the latest survival horror project from Sam Raimi, marking his big return to the genre after more than 15 years. The film stars Rachel McAdams and Chris Pang as a woman and her boss who find themselves stranded on a remote island following a plane crash, forced into a fight for survival against both the elements and what lurks in the shadows. Raimi's name alone carries huge weight with horror fans thanks to classics like Evil Dead, Drag Me to Hell, and his influence on the genre as a whole. That's why his return has so much buzz around it. Add in the fact that writers from the Friday the 13th franchise are behind the script, and you can expect a mix of raw survival tension with some brutal, terrifying moments. The Bride, March 6, 2026. Universal's Monster Universe is getting another fresh reboot. this time focusing on one of horror's most legendary female figures. Maggie Gyllenhaal, who made waves with her directorial debut The Lost Daughter in 2021, is stepping behind the camera to reimagine James Whale's 1935 classic Bride of Frankenstein. Set in 1930 Chicago, the story follows Frankenstein as he teams up with Dr. Euphronius to create a companion. Their experiment brings a murdered woman back to life as the bride, played by Jessie Buckley, and her resurrection sets off a mix of romance, run-ins with the police, and even sparks of social upheaval. The project isn't just riding on its legacy, it's also stacked with talent. Alongside Buckley, the cast features Jake Gyllenhaal, Christian Bale, Penelope Cruz, Peter Sarsgaard, and Annette Bening, making it one of the most buzzed-about horror releases of 2025. Mike Flanagan's Exorcist, March 13, 2026. Mike Flanagan is diving into the Exorcist universe with Blumhouse and Morgan Creek, giving the classic franchise a brand new twist. After the lukewarm reception of The Exorcist Believer in 2023, Flanagan is stepping in as writer, director, and producer to shake things up. Instead of continuing from the last film, his version will tell an original story set within the Exorcist world. He's producing through his new company, Red Room Pictures, alongside longtime collaborator Trevor Macy, with John Scherer also on board. This marks his fourth project with Blumhouse, after earlier hits like Oculus, Hush, and Ouija: Origin of Evil. Flanagan himself has said that The Exorcist played a huge role in inspiring his career as a filmmaker, so he's eager to honor the original while crafting something fresh and terrifying. Jason Blum is fully behind the project, calling Flanagan's vision exactly what horror fans need right now. David Robinson from Morgan Creek echoed the excitement, saying audiences can expect a bold and exciting new take on one of horror's most iconic stories. Scary Movie, June 12, 2026. It might not be the scariest horror film out there, but come on, it's Scary Movie, so it definitely deserves a mention. The parody franchise is making a comeback, this time with Sean and Marlon Wayans reuniting alongside producer Neil H. Moritz. The brothers are going back to what they do best, poking fun at pop culture and spoofing horror classics with their signature over-the-top humor. Sean, Marlon, and their older brother Keenan Ivory are co-writing the new installment with longtime collaborator Rick Alvarez, who's been working with the Wayans family since Scary Movie 2 back in 2001. Evil Dead Burn, July 24, 2026. Evil Dead Burn, the next entry in Sam Raimi's iconic horror franchise, is marking the fastest turnaround yet for an Evil Dead film, arriving just 3 years after Evil Dead Rise. Plot details remain under wraps, but the title alone sparks speculation, teasing either a fiery apocalypse brought on by the Deadites or the protagonist wielding flame against them. The cast includes Suhaila Yacoub, Hunter Doohan, Lucianne Buchanan, and Tandy Wright, none of whom have specified roles yet. The film is directed by Sebastian Vanecek, who previously helmed Infested, and who has promised to deliver a mean film designed to leave audiences shaken. He co-wrote the screenplay with Florent Bernard, while Sam Raimi, Robert Tappert, and Bruce Campbell are producing, with Campbell also serving as executive producer alongside Evil Dead Rise director Lee Cronin. Filming began on July 22, 2025, confirmed by Vanecek with a clapperboard photo. Meanwhile, a second Evil Dead project is in the works, with Francis Galuppi attached, suggesting a possible new installment every 2 to 3 years if both succeed. Fans are curious whether Bruce Campbell might appear in Burn in a cameo, possibly as a Deadite rather than Ash Williams, as well as how heavy Vanecek will lean into Easter eggs from earlier films. While Evil Dead Rise drew some criticism for overindulgence in callbacks, Vanecek's film is expected to honor the franchise's anthology approach while delivering fresh terror. With its cast of newcomers, grisly reputation, and commitment to relentless horror, Evil Dead Burn has quickly become one of 2026's most anticipated horror releases. Thread, an Insidious tale, August 21, 2026. The Insidious franchise is officially getting its first spin-off, and it's shaping up to be a wild ride. Thread stars Mandy Moore and Kumail Nanjiani as a married couple who use a spell to go back in time to stop their daughter from dying. Of course, in true Insidious fashion, things take a dark and supernatural turn when they cross paths with the mysterious realm known as the Further. James Wan, the guy behind both Insidious and The Conjuring, hinted that Thread is like a spiritual cousin to those haunted tales. He said it's similar to how the Warrens' Haunted Museum could spark multiple stories. Thread taps into that same vibe, but with its own twist. The film is being directed and written by Jeremy Slater, with horror pros Jason Blum and James Wan producing. Even though not much is confirmed about where Thread fits in the larger Insidious timeline, we do know it'll have strong ties to The Further and possibly feature franchise staple Lin Shaye as Elise Rayner again. While fans were led to believe The Red Door would wrap things up, its massive success revived interest in more movies, including Insidious 6. Werewolf, December 25, 2026. Robert Eggers is diving back into horror with a fresh take on another classic monster. After exploring vampires and Nosferatu, he's now tackling werewolves in a new film called Werewolf. Eggers co-wrote the script with Sion, his collaborator on The Northman, and will direct the project himself. Focus Features, the same studio behind Nosferatu, is backing the movie and has already set a North American release date for Christmas Day 2026. That's the same holiday slot that worked surprisingly well for Nosferatu, which turned into a major box office success. Set in 13th century England, Werewolf is expected to bring Eggers' trademark gritty, historically rooted style. The dialogue reportedly uses authentic Old English, complete with translations for modern audiences, making it another immersive period piece. While Eggers initially considered filming in black and white, he has since decided against it. Still, fans can expect his signature muddy, violent, and atmospheric world building. Eggers and Sion are producing alongside Focus, with Chris and Eleanor Columbus executive producing. Focus has been Eggers' longtime home, releasing all of his films including The Witch, The Lighthouse, The Northman, and most recently Nosferatu. Nosferatu, starring Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult, and Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, exceeded expectations when it hit theaters last Christmas, pulling in over $156 million worldwide. With Werewolf, Eggers seems poised to continue his streak of reimagining horror legends with his uniquely unsettling vision.